Hey everybody, it's Erin, and here's my 10 cards using one kit video, and this is using the September kit from Love from Lizzie. It is jam-packed full of Halloween, amazing, and even though you may not have this kit, there are some fun techniques and fun ideas of what you can do with your own supplies to recreate these amazing cards and the concepts behind it. So there's lots of fun techniques yet to come. Don't forget, please subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. Let's jump in the first couple of cards. I've already done most of the cutting. The first thing I did is I cut out, and if you notice, this is the same design, but I'm changing up some of the papers and the background colors and the little ephemera pieces that are on there. Ephemera? Ah, I'm gonna screw that up. So I die cut 2 circles. These circles are in the black shiny paper that was a little bit smaller, and then 2 that are in this kind of pinky shiny paper as well. And we are going to layer one on top of the other. So my first step is I'm going to run both of these through my Xyron here just to get them sticky. I just find it's easy to run big pieces like that need to stick through the Xyron. Simplifies matters quite a bit. Place one on top of the other and create a dimensional circle. Really super simple. Next step is I'm going to take my super tight pen adhesive. I want to get into all the little nooks and cracks. One of these I'm going to make into the bat, and I just want to check because I don't want the pieces. I can pretty much do the entire thing because the bat's just gonna, I actually kind of want the bat to sit in the middle so his ears, or her ears, I think it's a her because she's got eyelashes. Not to say that guys can't have eyelashes. For this I am using my glue pen because I don't want to have little cobwebbies and stuff, so I'm just using my pen to kind of get into all the little pieces, as you can see there. Links to all the supplies I'm using, to the kit and so forth, and to subscribe to future kits will be down below. And also for like the glue, and there's coupon codes for the glue. Alright, so the girl, don't want to have her like all the way up. I want her smack in the middle here. I think she's so cute. She's like a little bat girl. I love it. So it is just so much fun. And this little pen is super easy to get into all those little nooks and crannies. I want to make sure I close up my glue pen so I don't have problems later. And then stick her down. I use my white sheet here so I don't get my craft mat all gross, and somehow I spilled something, so that's what that's all about. Here, maybe it's less distracting if I do that. It always seems to bug me that it's just off in the corner there. I don't know. Okay, I'm an inker. I always have been, always will be. So I'm going to ink the edges of my papers here. And I'm going to do both just to get rid of any of that little white line. There's a lot of black happening in here. I love this kit because it has a lot of little elements that are Halloween-y, but they're kind of girly, glammy, which I think is fun. All right, from here, flip over, use my tape runner. And the cool thing is that let's say you don't have this kit. This design is easy to do with just about anything. You can cut circles out, get some pretty pattern paper, get some little ephemera pieces, or you could stamp and color. That's the other nice thing about this design. Get colors that work well together. And whatever colors you layer in, so see how the other colors, they kind of all go together. I mean, that's the nice thing about having a kit, is that everything does go really nicely together. All right, from here, these are 2 strips, and we're going to add some of these Love from Lizzie. I want the big, bold ones here, the big stripes. So I'm going to place it. I'm not going to worry about trying to get to the end. I'm just going to snip them off. And I'm going to get as close up to the top, right there, as I can. Come in and just clean these up. I'm going to add one now towards the bottom. So basically I'm kind of anchoring the sections here. Oops. Well, don't do that. So get it nice and tight. The strips in the kit this time, oops, there, just grabbing my paper. It's okay. I don't need that section anyway. The strips in the paper this time, they're very shiny. Sometimes we get glittery looking ones. If you don't have this, you could also use ribbon. You could also use strips from old kits. You could just do it with a pen, like a shiny colored pen. Lots of options for that. And I think just to make it a little bit uneven, I'm going to double up the top one. Just do that. So I love this look of the lines on here. I love the shininess, and I'm not too fond of the gap that it's got. So I'm just going to line up this entire strip with the shiny strips. Now I'm trying to see if I can get 2 strips to fit on one instead of wasting them, and I think I can. Look at that, I can. There is enough in here. So I'm going to continue filling up this one. I'm also going to do this one, but this one I think I'm going to do in a different size just for a change. I think I would have enough now that I'm doubling them up, but you'll see what it looks like when I'm done. So there we go. Now I think I'm going to flip it. I think I'm going to put the busier one, the one with more stripes, on the less busy paper and then just flip-flop them. They still look cool. So I used 2 different size strips. This one I did a heck of a lot less strips. That one I did more. Play with it. Have some fun. Now the next thing is just layering all this on here. I think I'm going to stick my little witch girl on here. So I need to make sure that, yeah, that's goes up nicely. Stick that down. There we go. If you wanted to pop that up, you can. I'm not going to bother. There's enough layering going on here that I don't need to mess with that. And then put this here. Our little bat. So cute. I mean, there's enough. It almost kind of pops up because there's so many layers within that circle that you really don't need to mess with it. So in our kit, we also got some brush shows. So I'm going to do this to help prep for some future cards. And basically you take off the little ribbing. This is a black brush show. A little bit goes a long way. I'm just going to lightly tap it. Not going to do a whole lot on here. It's like a powder, as you can see, and that's all I'm going to do. I can always come back and add more, and I'm definitely going to cap this because I don't want to add any moisture or anything to that. So in here, I just have water. That's it. And it's in a mist form, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to spray. And as you can see, it's starting to activate. And I'm just doing this on a white cardstock. You can do as little or as much as you like. As you can tell, black is not just black. It's got other colors in it, and the more you kind of mess with it, the more swirls and patterns you get. I want to get a little bit more going. As you can see, the paper starting to react to the water I just sprayed on there. And I want to get a really cool swirly pattern action going on. Now, if you completely saturated all this and went crazy with it, you wouldn't get all the colors. You'd get mostly black. But because I've just done little bits of it, it's going to kind of get everywhere. And you can see there's some colors and stuff happening on my mat. Now, I feel like this is a little too bland, quote unquote. So I'm going to add a little bit. And it reacts differently if you add the brush show after. See, it's reacting to the water that's already there. So I'm adding a few more colors. I'm going to have to spray again because I'm losing a little bit. But this is going to go on the cards, and I want it to work with the colors that are in my cards. So I'm really going to swirl this, get this kind of going around. There's a lot of white down here. I really don't want white. And I don't exactly know. I'm going to cut this up. I'm not using it as is. This is going to take some time to dry because I've really saturated this out. I'm getting some kind of purpley tones now, and that's what I'm liking. That's where I want to go with it. There we go. See? Just kind of this cool background effect. It's got like this, I don't know, mystical. You're going to get a little dirty. It's going to stain your hands a little bit. And either you can let this air dry or you can use a heat dryer with it. I have like the tail end of a paper roll here that I'm just going to use this to get off some of my excess liquid here. Just to kind of speed up the process. I like using the roll versus trying to pat it dry because I can roll it back and forth. Pull up that excess. I can also get my mat, which is nice. Sometimes I'll even put paper towels underneath my mat. Depends. I'm going to get the back side of the paper, which actually that looks kind of cool too. Looking at it, I'm not sure which side I kind of like better. I'm almost tempted to use the back side. That's kind of fun. All right, so this was just something I wanted to get going. There is a little bit of brush show that's here. I'm kind of using, I put like a too thick of a coat on here. So I'm just kind of taking, and you can see it's like soot-like now, so it's not mixed with all the colors. And it's like adding streak lines, which I kind of like. So it's just another thing. It was like a big blob. And so now I've got these brush show, and I'm using my paper towel to add these streaky lines. Look how fun that is. So you can kind of see those little streak lines happening. It's very cool. In reality, I know it's a little bit different on camera. It always looks so different on camera in terms of colors, not what it is. It looks like it's got more blue and purples, but on camera, it does look more like it's just black. All right, so this is why I pulled my craft mat out. I'm just going to set this on the ground and let it dry for a while. All right, so here's another one that we're going to need to prep with the brush show. So I've opened up the brush show, and this is what I did. I took a couple. Well, I need to do this part first. I'm going to spray a little bit of water. Now, this is just a laminated piece of cardstock. That's it. Super simple. You could use your craft mat, but I like the smallness of this. And I'm taking a tiny bit of the brush show and kind of dabbing it on my laminated sheet. It's like, this is a cheap way, especially if you have a cold laminator or you have a way to go get laminate something. It's a very inexpensive way of getting a craft mat and not worrying about things, you know, getting things all gross and grubby. Look, I'm already getting my sticky hands. Other than that, all you need is a paintbrush. Now, if you notice, I've made myself little clusters. I've taken the cauldrons base, because there's a cauldron that's out of wood and there's a cauldron that is the ephemera. Never got that right. I've also taken a skull, lots of sprays of the flowers that are in the kit, some little ones. I did more flowers here because it's a smaller cauldron, less flowers because it's a larger cauldron, smaller skull, larger skull, and this one I added the fun little broom, just, you know, for grins and giggles. Why not? So just going to change it up a little bit, but I wanted to color the items, the wood items. So first, before I forget what this looks like, I'm going to take a picture of it so I don't forget, because I spent some time kind of arranging them and getting them to the way that I liked them. So if you get something that the way you like it, take a picture. So I'm going to take a quick picture. Boom. I mean, it's an easy way. You get a card set up and you're like, okay, I really love the way this is, but you haven't glued anything down. I always double check to make sure the picture actually took, because it's happened to me before where it hasn't. So now that I've got my picture, and I'm going to set off to the side the items that go together. So that goes there. And these pieces go over here. There we go. And I did have one little extra flower. They're like little puff balls. Like the person who drew this like took some paint and went, and it looks like a flower when it's all together. It's so cute. Okay, from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paintbrush, and this one already had a little bit of brush out because I tested it, and I'm going to paint with just water my wood piece just to get some water on there. That's it. And because this is all black, it's not a big deal. That, you know, my paintbrush kind of goes between. Then I'm going to pick up some of the brush-o and I'm going to paint the brush-o on. The cool thing is because this wood piece has got some dimension, it's going to still look like it's supposed to. You can just color it. Look how cool that is. Oops. And there we go. I flipped it over completely. Now my water's not water, it's all brush-o. So now I've painted it and made it a color using the brush-o. How fun. So this needs to dry. The other thing you can do is you can lightly dab it. Get my little paper towel roll thing out here. Lightly dab it. Pull a little bit of the color off. If you want the color to be really intense, leave it. It'll dry with the intense color. If you want it to be a little bit more of kind of a wash color, I'm going to even use my finger a little bit. But yeah, it's on there. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm just going to go ahead and use this, what's right here. I have found a couple of the wood pieces have a little like a varnishy feel to them. So, and I also feel like you have to kind of get the wood soaked. You look, at first it was kind of repelling, and now it's soaking in and you're getting the color. It's definitely a different kind of a color black than the cauldron that's there. This one I don't want to have as dark, so I'm patting it dry. There it is, right there. Super cute. I love it. All right, and then you can just take your paintbrush and rinse it off really well, and then just go rinse this off in the sink or use your paper towel to kind of clean it off. Very handy little cheap tool, laminated paper. You never know. Okay, so now that these are done, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble using my Max Super Tight adhesive. This is a dual pen, and from here I'm going to pull up my picture again. So I have the flower spray kind of coming out from behind, just like you see there. So I need to add some glue to the back of my wood piece here, just right there. And I was playing around with the orientation. This doesn't make sense. This is the only one that really makes sense because it's kind of coming out. You know, all the sprays are coming out the right direction. The actual flower you can orientate, but with the cauldron, it makes the most sense going this way. All right. I also have some little sprays coming out. I had this one coming out here, adding some more dimension again. I'm just kind of tucking it in right there. I also had this one here coming, oops, coming this way, like that. Just adding in layers of dimension is what you're going for. Then I have my broom, which is coming right across here, like that. The wood is not super wet, so that's why I can go ahead and do this now. A little bit of glue and set this down right here, just like that. And then layer the skull over top. It's a really cool embellishment with lots of layers. It's just fun. And then I'm kind of setting this off to the side. It's already one piece, as you can see. I'm just going to set that off to the side for now. It's like a little flower cluster with embellishments and the wood pieces, but with a cauldron. I mean, it's just kind of fun. Okay, this one, the cauldron is the base at the bottom, and I'm layering up the flowers. Same flower spray, but a smaller version, as you can see here. And then I'm going to take this tiny wood piece, this little piece here. Again, layers. Layers is kind of your friend when you're doing clusters like this. It just works. Yeah, I had it right there. What I did actually is I had it underneath. So I'm going to wipe my glue off, stick that right under. I put the bigger embellishment on the top. And I layered all the smaller ones. I did reverse. So this one, I put all the little tiny embellishments, the extra pieces. I put them under, closer to the cauldron, and then placed the large spray on top to give it some dimension. I might tweak this around just a tiny bit. There we go. So now it looks like you've got sprays coming out in these three directions. And then I'm going to place my skull just kind of right here. Does it need an extra flower? I kept playing with this. This is where you can kind of come in. I feel like it's like I want one more spray, but I think I'm out of sprays. Ah, you know what I do have? Is this is just, it's the wrong shape, is there is these little, what I call wisps. So I could add, there we go. See, now it balances it out. Let me see if I should add two. Oh, even better. See, just gotta play. It needed some, not something flat and round, it needed something long, just to kind of make it work. Add those in. This is how I do flower clusters. When I used to do flower clusters all the time on like my scrapbook pages. Oh, that looks so cute. It almost looks like the skull's got a little bit of a headpiece going on. So I used to do little flower clusters on scrapbook pages all the time, and that's how I would balance them. I would kind of play with it just to see if it would work or not work, and then let this guy set up here to dry while I pull out the papers. Okay, so the next step is I've cut out, and I'm using a black and a gray cardstock base. This is our next two cards. Again, same concept for the cards, just tweaking it up a little bit. And then we're going to add a background, and there's two sheets of the exact same background glittery paper, which I think is just perfect with the little embellishment thing that we have here. And of course, I'm going to ink that. The next thing is, as you can see, I've already stamped this paper, but I'm going to ink the edge of this while I have it out, and I'm doing the inking. And then since this guy's out, I'm going to go ahead and do this one as well. This paper that's right here is the same one we used on the first two cards. It was one of those extra little sheets, the smaller sheets, that has got kind of a pearlescent thing to it. And what I've done is we're making our own background pattern paper that goes with the skull bows and the skulls. And I did add one little thing because I wanted to add little bows in there, is I added a bow to each of the skulls in there. That came from the from the kit, from the paper kit. I don't know why, I said it wrong, so everybody was correcting me, which is great. Please correct me if I say things are wrong. But now I don't know which one's right. Oh, it's driving me crazy. Such a dork. It's like I get too much in my head about which one it should be. All right, so the first thing I did with these is that I went ahead and placed them as a trio. So I took the three little stamps here on my stamp block, and then I placed them as a trio, and then came in and kind of stamped. And then I went down, make sure it wasn't a super great stamp. Kind of move them around, give them a little bit of a different orientation. There you go. And then I pulled off two and left just one, and then filled in some gaps. Like I think, okay, that could go there. Therefore, we can put this one here. And then I switched out. I'm like, okay, let's do the bow now. Let's add another spot where the bow could go. The bow looks like it goes here. 3 bows looks good. Switch to the last skull. And I think we can get a skull in here. Another skull there. And I'm going to add one more skull because this one's smaller. There's one skull that's smaller than the others. So you just have to kind of play with it. It's not going to be perfect. It's a random pattern of paper using the little tiny stamps that are in the kit. And if I don't put those away right away, I will lose them. Okay. Let this guy kind of dry for just a second. It's a little bit of a shiny paper, so you don't want to touch it right away. My fingers are really seriously getting gross. Oh well. All right. Next stage is we are going to... I love to layer cards. I think it just adds so much dimension. And you've got layer upon layer upon layer. It just takes a basic card and kind of snazzes it up. And I don't feel like I'm doing a lot of work besides just cutting up paper. Makes it easy. Just kind of fun. All right. Next, we got a whole bunch of ribbons, and I love this silver. It just pops, and it pops really nicely on here. So we're going to add a couple of strands of the ribbon to, I'm actually going to do the one that I stamped first. This is the one I stamped first, to the card. So here we go. We've got this one right here. So I need to cut 4 strips. I might as well cut all at the same time. You notice I'm cutting them a little bit longer than the actual paper, and I still have some left over. So just put your thing in there, run it through, tear it off, make life easy. The whole back side is now sticky. So I'm not dealing with a ton of stick at once. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm just going to fold it over the top right here. And notice it's already sticking, which is great. Take the second one, line it up where I want it, just like this. Get it stuck to the back too. So now they're both stuck to the back. Peel off the rest. And then I'm going to pull the first one down. And I had way too much that I hardly put any of the ribbon behind, but that's okay. And then stick. I mean, that's easy. And then get your next ribbon on there. There it is. And then place this down, because this whole thing is sticky now, on my paper. This is a super tight all-purpose universal glue. It's a little bit of a thicker glue. It's got a little bit more of a hold. And I'm going to use that to glue this down because this is a heavier embellishment. I don't want it to have problems. So I'm going to add this all to here to make sure that it's got a nice good hold. And I'm putting that in my glue jar upside down. And then this goes in right here. And some cards I am absolutely cool if they kind of come off the page a little bit. So if you notice this is just barely coming off, I think it adds to kind of the fun. Just be careful when putting in an envelope. Either put it in an envelope that's too big, which there's bigger envelopes than this, so don't worry about it, or hand deliver it without an envelope. I need to put a little glue on my little ribbon here for my skull. There we go. And now for the side. I'll do the exact same thing for the other card, but you've already seen me do one. You don't need to see me repeat the other. And that is our next 2 cards. All right, so remember that brush up paper that we just made, that little black? So what I did is I took it and I cut it in half, and it's still a little bit wet, so I tried to use my paper trimmer and kind of sliced it up a bit, so I just finished it with scissors, which is fine because we're only using it as a little peekaboo piece. So what I have right here is I have a circle die, and we're kind of offsetting the circle, and I'm trying to cut as much of the circle out as I can, but I want to be able to see this black paper from underneath. So lining it up is kind of a chore. If you have a full sheet of paper and you're not worried about this, like if you didn't cut short like I did, like I just did 1 sheet of paper with a Brusho, then you wouldn't have to worry about this step. All right, so I've got the piece I need. I'm going to washi tape that down. There we go. And then I'm going to cut this out and do the same thing for the other paper that we're going to use for the same, because these are all duo cards, like 2-for-1 cards. Come up with one design and you can make 2 cards with that. For this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the side that I kind of screwed up on, and I'm going to start off with putting a little bit of glue going right around the edge. And the reason why I'm using glue and not anything else is because I want to be able to shift it and move it around. So I'm going to line up this bottom edge right here. And I also need to line up this edge right here. And now I have this little peekaboo, which we're going to put a little girl in there. It's going to be quite cute. All right, so that's one. I'm going to flip it over, make sure I don't have any glue. There we go. And do the same thing to this one. So if you notice, I'm kind of shifting and moving around. When you have glue that's a wet glue, it allows you to do that. So if I had done a tape runner, I would have to like peel off and put on. But glue has the ability kind of to move until it's stuck. So that's where we're going with that. The next piece is of course, I'm going to ink my edges. All right, in our kit, we also got this fun thing where it's all these pieces that pull apart. So what they are is they're layering pieces. So you take this and then you layer this piece on top of here. You lay this piece on top of here, and then you layer her little book. And they're all lettered. So for instance, I did all of C. So C1, this was C3, obviously little book, and then C2. I think the other one I want to do, I do have her, and I think I'm going to use her. So I'm going to pull out all the D's as well. And I think they're told you in the layers because that's the order you put them on. It's pretty obvious when you start layering them. I mean, obviously you're not going to stick the hat under. I mean, that makes no sense. You kind of layer it on top. So you start usually with the main one and then you layer up from there. So you go and then you layer her right on top. It gives, and you're not going to layer like stick it right down. We're going to add dimension. Now, how many of you saw this little piece and thought, where's bunny ears? I seriously thought that. I'm looking at this little piece. Let me show it to up close. And I'm like, where's the bunny ears? And then I realized when I knew which set it went with, it's her legs. Oh, so silly. So I'm going to do one with you. So I'm going to put all the her over there. I'm going to do this one with you, and then the other one is pretty self-explanatory. So this face piece is cut out, so you don't want to put anything that's sticky. We're only going to put sticky on here. So I'm going to pull out just some 3D dots. I've had these things for ages. And for the bigger pieces, I'm going to use the bigger sections. So I can pull out my big dots. If you don't have dots, you could definitely use a different other kind of puffy, anything that's three-dimensional. I've showed you guys how to make three-dimensional things with like cardboard. You even use foam core with glue. So many different options here. I just happen to be going through my scrap space a lot lately, and I have noticed that I had a ton of these. So instead of wasting them and having them just sit in my scrap space, I'm going to use them. So now notice there's a little bit of a dimension, right? So there's some dimension going on here. The next thing is we're going to pop up her little skull bow. For that, I'm going to use 2 small circles. Seriously think my hands are like turning black. My nail polish has got like black and I've gone full out goth glam. That's a good way of describing this kit. Goth Halloween glam. That's kind of fun. But it's cutesy too. I mean, that's the fun part. It's just, I guess that still defines the goth glam. You know, because glam is kind of cutesy and glittery and all that stuff. And then there's definitely like the whole Halloween-y gothic, you know, with the skulls. So there's that one. And then I'm doing her little book. I don't know, how would you describe this kit? You know, it's cutesy witches, but they're all, it's just fun. Definitely a fun twist on the Halloween take. So there you go. All right, so she's done. I'm going to go ahead and finish her up. You guys know, basically, I'm using pop dots to pop everything up. All right, so I've picked out 2 fun card bases. I'm just going very dark because I want the girls to really pop on this. When it comes to cards, you kind of do less is more because you want things to kind of stand out more than others. So you kind of go with a different direction. All right, before I add my girls on, actually I could probably, no, I'm going to do this before. Before I add my girls on, I'm taking my Nuvo drops, and I do want to do a tester, so I'm actually going to use the back side of one of the little circles I cut out, just to make sure my drops are good. And I'm going to add a layer of drops in around the circle, going all the way around, nice little firm layer of drops. Move that card out of the way. And before I glue my girls down, I have to let these dry. So it's just a nice little layer. And I didn't want to do the drops after I put them down because I don't want to like, oh, well, there's supposed to be a drop there, but part of her head's in the way or something. So there's that. I'm going to do the same thing to this card, but I'm going to finish what my plan is, which is to add a cute little title kind of in the corner. So this one's going to have spooky. And so this one's going to have too cute to spook. And then basically, just so you guys get the idea, it's going to have a little girl kind of sitting there. This is going to finish around here. She's going to rest right in this space, but I don't want to touch anything yet because I want it to dry. And so I'm just going to use my glue real fast to come in and add my little title. So you'll see the picture of what it looks like when she's done and after it's dried, because I always take the pictures after everything has dried up. But that is the next 2 cards finished. All right, the next set of cards we're going to make is using these fun zigzag pattern papers, and I'm kind of ripping off, well, it's my own design. It's a card that has this diagonal slant. I did it for a 10 kits card previously. So the first step we're going to do is, again, we're going to ink. Shocker. So ink my edges here, going along. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink, and then ink the 2 that I've already put in diagonal. And the background papers, if you've not noticed, I have picked out the purple and the pink just for something kind of cute and different. We are going to put this diagonal piece right along here. So this is just going to end up going right along there. So I'm going to trim this up to make it so it fits exactly for the width of the card. Just like that. And then we're going to trim that up. So I need to go ahead and glue this down. And how I made the diagonal pieces is that I went in with my tape, or in my, sorry, my paper trimmer, went ahead and cut a sheet that was the right size. Actually, I just cut it so that it was the right size from left to right. And if you notice, I'm cutting a little bit less, and I'm giving myself a chance to see that beautiful kind of silver paper. And then what I did is I just put it in my tape in my paper trimmer again, and then cut. So both these cuts, they may not be exactly identical. And if you can tell, you know, they're not exactly identical. Well, I actually cut this paper a little bit shorter. The slant's a little bit different. So you just kind of do your best. For the ribbon, I'm going to put a little bead of glue going down the length right here. Right here. So the other nice thing is about doing a couple of cards is that you can do them at the same stages. And you're already doing that particular thing. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, I'm going to pull out my glue again, and you don't have to worry about cleaning everything up. You just kind of get them both done. Nice. Okay, so for one of them, I'm doing cutest pumpkin, and I'm putting a couple of pumpkins. So first stage is I'm going to go ahead and glue down cutest pumpkin. It just fits with these adorable little pumpkins. I'm going to place the larger pumpkin down first using the glue, and I'm just putting him right along here. The second pumpkin, I am going to put this down. And one thing I like to do is I will cut up the extra pieces. There's nothing that says that you can't use the entire sheet. You don't just have to use the circles. I use the whole thing. Pull off the backing. And just to give them a little bit of dimension, I'll pop up the second pumpkin and rest it kind of alongside it, just like that. A little bit more of an angle, I think. There we go. Cute. All right, the next step is I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Add my glue down. There we go. And then I had already practiced with the brusho on the broom. This was my practice one, and I flipped over and I did the front of it. So same as what I did on the previous ones where I took the brusho on the laminated paper and then painted it. I did it to this one previously because this was my practice one. And I just love the look of that. So I'm going to go ahead and add the glue to this as well. So add my glue all the way to this little broom, angle it. So it's not following exactly the line, but it's falling close enough. And then I'm going to take some more of the foam dots because my spider is going to rest over top the broom, but I need to have it stick. And I don't want to have it just stick to the wooden part of the broom. I want to have it stick to the actual card. So I'm putting the foam dots on either side of where the broom is going to go. So the foam dots here and here, and the broom's going right through the middle, and now the spider is resting on the broom, and it's resting right over top and onto the card. All right, now we're going to get out our pretty little sequins. So here's our cute sequins. I'm going to dump a whole bunch in here. All right, next stage is that I'm going to add little dollops of glue. And I'm going to do it to both cards, so little dollops all over. And I can see it really well on this gray paper. So I'm just going to keep on adding little dollops right there. And that's where I'm going to place sequins. So just to show you how this is like a little sticky end here on this little tool here. It has a little sticky part. And I'm just going to pick up a fun sequin and any of the colors, because there's lots of fun colors going on here. Pick different sizes. Come in and just stick it down. Every now and then, sometimes you have to let the glue kind of get a little tacky, and as time goes on, it's going to get better. So I'm just going to pick up random colors and stick them down. I can take my little piercing tool to help me here. Sometimes the katana gets a little overly sticky because I twisted it to reactivate the sticky at the top. So I'm going to kind of pull a little of that off. Now it's all over my fingers. Oh well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep on adding all of the adhesive, more dots to this, add all the sequins to this, and this is the next couple of cards done. So as you just saw, I just went in and I stamped 2 of the girls. This one I screwed up and I tried to re-stamp it and it got blurry, so I just did a new stamp on a new sheet of paper. It is what it is. So I've actually pulled out the 2 girls that came from the ephemera, from the paper kit. It's not going to get that name wrong. And I don't want to match it exactly, because what's the point? You know, what's the point of me stamping and then using the same stamp and doing identical? I mean, I might as well use this, right? So instead, I'm going to do my own twist on it. But I don't want to deviate too much because I want to keep in the color patterns that I'm going to use for my card, which are still keeping with the color patterns that are in the kit. So I don't want to go completely off base. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm going to just pick a couple of things, and I'm just using some colored pencils here from Derwent. It's just a nice little kit here. And just kind of adding in, and I'm just going to highlight a few things. I don't think I'm going to do everything. I might. I don't know. I haven't quite decided. I don't have a whole line to do face and stuff. I don't want to completely go the wrong direction and pick colors that aren't going to work. So maybe I'll switch gears and I'll make her hair purple. You know, her hair is not purple in any of the cards or anything, so I can have fun with that. And she has, you know, her hair goes all the way down, it's behind. So I'm going to color these in, kind of play around with it, have some fun. So I got my little girls colored in. I went with a very pink and purple feel to it, which that vibe is definitely in the kit, but it's not a whole lot on here. I didn't want to stick with all these neutral colors because I didn't think they would just pop that well. So definitely different than what was portrayed in any of the pop outs or any of the paper pieces that we got. Staying away from that word. All right, so I'm pulling out the dies, and I don't need to bore you guys with it, but one quick trick that I use to make sure my die doesn't shift on me while I am cutting it is I do add a little bit of washi tape to my die, just run it straight across, make sure it's all lined up. There we go. Boop, just like that. And I'm going to die cut this and the other girl. Alright, so I've got all my pieces cut out, and I decided to kind of take a little bit of a different turn than when I originally went, but you know, that happens. And then of course I'm going to ink everything. Now, this is the general layout that you're going to see here, but you're going to see there's going to be some little tweaks that we're going to do in terms of embellishments, and then you'll see the final picture of what they look like after, I'm just doing the edges here. I don't want to get it like that's too much in my mind. I could cover that up with her head. So if you screwed up and you don't want to mess with it, you could have, like, I could hide it there, but I'm happy with the way that that looks. The next stage I'm going to do with this one. Actually, let me get this all glued down first. I also, when I do my layers, I don't like making everything super matchy-matchy. So if you notice, this layer is not quite as long as that back layer, which is not as long as the main card, and the black layer is not as long as the strip. So everything's got kind of like, you can see the dimensions in it. Next up, go ahead and glue down your circle. I also, and for this I'm going to use my glue. I'm going to glue down my sentiment first because I don't want it to be too close to my circle. So I'm going to put my sentiment up here in the corner, use up that space, place my circle, and now I don't feel like my circle's too close. I also don't like my circle being right next to. I want to, again, have it a little bit further apart. To me, it's just a little more pleasing to the eye. Check where my girl is going to go. Yep, she looks good. But before we do that, we're going to add a circle of Nuvo drops around the circle. So I can't put her on yet. And when I do put her on, I'm going to use my pop dots to pop her up so she's not sitting funny against the circle of Nuvo, of which I just put the very first one and messed it up. So get it going. I'm going to use, again, a little sheet of scratch paper here, just like that, and add a nice little bead of the Nuvo drops going all the way around. Do your best to make them as equal as possible. Turn the card to make it easier for your hands. You're not trying to go in an awkward angle as you go around the circle. Just makes your life a little simpler when you do that. So keep turning the card. So there we go. And then Nuvo drops do a pretty good job of doming out and not staying with a peak, but just to help it along, I tap the back of my card just to make sure they get that nice kind of bead looking, that little dome, like it's a little droplet that's sitting there and resting. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with this other card. The only other step is popping my girl up on her circle with the pop dots. And that is the end of all of our cards. So here you go, 10 cards using one kit, all with a Halloween glam feel. It's 5 pairs of cards, so that way you can have the same kind of design and feel. And some of the designs are a little bit similar to the other, but that's fine. Just use your supplies in a different way, which is all good. Supply links are down below for where you can find how to get all this stuff. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.